Hey guys, this video is for our 2nd through 4th grade team for January 16th, week 2. All month long, we are doing the life app of self-control, choosing to do what you should even when you don't want to. And we've already talked about this life app quite a few times in the Higley house, and it's a great life app for the month of January. And then our memory verse for the month. Okay. Memory verse for the month is, God's power has given us everything we need to lead a godly life. 2 Peter 1:3. God's power has given us everything we need to lead a godly life. 2 Peter 1:3. This week, we focus on a word picture that Solomon uses in the book of Proverbs. Solomon uses the idea of giant city walls keeping people safe as an example for people to understand the importance of living with self-control. Kids will discover why ancient city walls are a perfect picture of how self-control can help us. So our bottom line, when you lose control, it can cause trouble. When you choose to remain in control, you keep yourself out of danger. We hope kids discover the value of relying on God to help them choose self-control even when it's difficult. Then we've also got our birthday list here, so make sure you go through it, see if you've got any of these kiddos or leaders in your room, and wish them a happy birthday. So first up on the agenda for this week, we would love for you to join us in the garage door room at 8:20 and 10:20 for prayer and coffee and donuts. It's just a great time to really focus our minds on what the day is all about. Then just make sure that you're in your small group area by 8:30 and 10:30. Kids start to roll in at 8:40 and 10:40, and the first activity is called And Then What Happened? So in your leader folder, what this is just as kids roll in, you're going to kind of have them make up a story. You can even start with a little story for 15 seconds. And then you'll say, all right, Trip, and then what happened? And then he'll kind of make up the next part of the story. And then say, all right, then, Gus, what happened next? You can do this as you walk in. You don't have to do this as kids are coming in. It's just a little fun icebreaker that you can do. You could also just always toss one of the koosh balls that we're using later on in the day back and forth to all of the different kiddos, asking them their name and how their week at school was, just kind of getting to know who they are. For some of our dad squad that's serving this weekend in the boys' room, in this big cabinet right here, we also have tons of magnetiles, marble runs, Legos, different things that you could set out as kids are coming in if you'd like them to do that at the different tables that we have. So the next thing, when service starts at 9 and 11, you have a few hula hoops in your room. So you can break kids up into some groups and see if kids can do any hula hoop tricks. Invite them to experiment. Can they do it around their arm, around their ankle? Can they do it around their waist? See who can do it the longest. And then you'll just close this activity down by saying, all right, guys, these hula hoops are wild. And they're fun for a while, but they can easily get out of control, as I'm sure they will in the boys' room. So how did you guys keep it in control so well? And have kids talk about how their strategies for using a hula hoop, and then say, okay, we're going to head across the hall to large group. We're going to hear about something that takes a lot of practice to control. So at 9, 10, and 11:10, you will head across the hall to large group to hear the story from Solomon about a city without walls and how it's not good for control. When large group is over, you've got two choices for review games. The first one is Broken Down Walls, and it's actually a really fun little game. And the second one is called Don't Lose Control, and it's a little ball game. So on your cart, you've got 6 koosh balls that you're going to use for both of these games. So the first game is called Broken Down, and what you're going to do is you'll pick 2 or 3 kids to kind of be the enemies, and they're going to stand to the side, and they will get the koosh balls. And then you're going to have the other kids stand in a circle with their hands on the kids' shoulders in front of them. So they'll kind of be like facing forward with their hands on the circle, going around the circle, if that makes sense. And you're going to teach them this song. It's Proverbs 25:28. A person without self-control, self-control, self-control. A person without self-control is like a city whose walls are broken down, broken down, broken down. Whose walls are broken down, broken down. And on the final down, they're going to fall to the floor, and the enemies will invade and throw the koosh balls at them. Obviously, you want to set some parameters. We're not hitting people in the head or the face with these balls. They can throw them at their bodies. And then just give kids instructions to kind of do that when they fall down. And then you can stand up, do it again, pick a few more kids to be the enemies and throw the balls, and you're going to march around the circle and say it again. So when they fall, it's like the walls falling down in a city, and all of a sudden they are invaded by enemies. So a person without self-control is like a city without walls. A person without self-control doesn't protect what's important to them. Sometimes it's hard to practice self-control, like when we want to run instead of walk so we can be first, or we want to eat all the candy instead of just a few pieces, preach. Or sometimes we want to yell at someone because they hurt us, but when we lose control, it can cause trouble. Share time with your kids about when you lost control and it caused some trouble. Definitely have some of those examples from this past week for sure. Then the second little activity that you can do if you'd like to, if you have time, is you're going to split your group into 2 teams, and each team will get a koosh ball and like a little spoon, and you'll find a starting line and an ending line, and kids will take turns running to the finish line and back while keeping the ball on their spoon. If they drop the ball, they have to go back to the starting line and try again. The first team to get every kid to run down and back successfully wins. And then you're just going to want to circle up. You could maybe do this in 2 separate circles, like a circle for each team. And talk about the game and with these following questions. How did it feel to lose control of the ball? If you didn't lose control, how did it feel when your team member lost control? And a ball isn't something important. It's not a big deal if we lose control of the ball, but there are things that are a big deal to lose control of. Like losing control of your body in the hall, losing control of your toys and clothes, losing focus during schoolwork or patience. And what are the not so great things that happen when we lose self-control? So just a fun game. Boys, you could go play this game in the large group room if you'd like to. Just a great way to break it down to remind kids what can happen when we lose control. Then for the memory verse activity, you can find that memory verse in the Bibles that are on your cart. You can look it up with the kids and practice the little motions. And then what the kids are going to do, I think this is a super great activity. They can color these in. It has the memory verse if they'd like to. I know the girls will definitely want to color. The boys might not want to. But you're going to explain that they can use this remote control to remind them what they can do when they feel like losing control. They can walk away from a situation. They can take deep breaths. They can talk about it to someone, or they can count to 10 to just kind of calm down so they don't lose control. That's just, these are things that God has given us to keep self-control in our lives. I think that's a great little application. So just having kids practice those and talk about those. And then there's a little bit, a little guided part down here that you can even talk about with the kids that will kind of go over that with you. What are some things they lose control over and how can they keep control? And then finally, just close down with prayer. Kind of stand shoulder to shoulder and make a wall. And then you're just going to kind of use this little response guide down here talking about how walls kept cities safe. They kept out enemies who didn't want to attack. And when we don't control ourselves, we're like a city with a broken down wall. When we lose control, it can cause all kinds of trouble. But God has given us the power to control ourselves. These things, and just reading our Bible, taking a minute to stop and pray, God can help us to stay in control. What a great lesson for this week. I know personally I will use some of those things, and I know for sure I will be practicing them with my boys this week. So that is it. That memory verse, keep control coloring page, and then prayer shoulder to shoulder. Everything you need is on your carts. And I thank you guys so much for serving. Dad Squad, it's their first week. Thanks, Dad Squad, for filling in during 9 o'clock service for some of our boys. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for serving. Love you all, and I'll see you on Sunday.